Arizona's special teams are not special. They are especially bad.
Welcome on in, everybody, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. Kevin Thomas, Damon, Fairall, the AZ Wildcats pod here at PHNX HQ, Trace in downtown Phoenix. The Arizona Wildcats lost this weekend, unfortunately, sustaining their first loss of the 2025 season, 3-1 on the year, albeit to a very, very respectable Iowa State squad. And Kevin, we got to talk about the fallout of said loss all day today on this fine program, as well as get into our Big 12 power rankings. What does that look like now that, Big 12 play has kind of started to take shape a little bit more? It seems we have a little bit more direction as to how power rankings should possibly line up. And it should be a good one today, my guy.
Happy Monday, everybody. It should indeed be a good show. It's always a good show when you can talk Big 12 football, especially in the vein of power rankings, Damon, because we do have some...
with these two fine gentlemen right here on your screen.
Of course, and all our closest friends and family in the chat, please leave a like. Make sure you're drinking water today if you have not done that already. It is cooling off, though, Damon. The weather is very good, but that's neither here nor there. Like you said, big weekend of Big 12 football is now behind us. Unfortunately, Arizona's did not go the way that maybe you and I thought that it would. Even in a loss, it did not go the way that we thought that a loss might look. It was not pretty on Saturday afternoon for Wildcats fans on the road in Ames. But, and I want to talk about this at the end of the show for certain, but it's not all bad. There's stuff to look forward to still this season. The season's not over. Like quarterback No Fifita said in the postgame, it is just one game, Damon. And yeah, we have a lot more football to look forward to. And in that same vein, the schedule is favorable. Arizona is not cooked. You still have Seth Dagey, who has a lot to work with offensively. That special teams, though, man, it is bad. Real quick, I feel like we should just have that conversation before we get into the power rankings, Damon. I was doing some stat combing today, and I was like, you know what? I know it hasn't been pretty for Arizona special teams. Let me just find out. Let me find out where they rank in the efficiency stat for special teams. There are 136 teams per ESPN's analytics that are ranked for special teams efficiency. Of those 136 teams, Arizona ranks 134th. Almost the worst team in the country in terms of special teams of those that qualify. It is something that, to Damon's point that he made on the postgame show, will cost you games this season if it is not cleaned up. Yeah. You could argue that while the 25-point discrepancy is not all on the special teams on Saturday, the beginning of the snowball started from the kickoff, right? And it continued through to MSM's missed field goal on your first drive, in which you looked like you were moving the ball pretty well with the run game, but you get nothing out of it, no momentum out of it. And then there is a 11-point swing in response. Iowa State goes down, scores, goes for 2. They put up 8, and the snowball is already rolling from there. So, yeah, they didn't cause 25-point discrepancy on Saturday, but they certainly put you behind the 8 ball from the first second of the game. That special teams unit, a mess, and it has to get cleaned up.
Kevin, I don't know, where you found that statistic from. Was it from our friends at Game on Paper?
No, it's ESPN's analytics. If you go to their FPI rankings on their website, and then you navigate over to the efficiencies tab, it is that special teams efficiency where Arizona ranks.
Interesting. So this isn't quite the exact same comparison because I think, different statistics are being used at play here. But one way that I think you could somewhat just put this into perspective, Kevin, for Arizona fans at home, our friends Game on Paper, who do great work from an analytical standpoint covering college football, they have adjusted EPA per play, which is essentially how efficient your offense is, how efficient your defense is, and EPA is the I don't want to get this wrong necessarily, so I want to make sure that I'm getting you the proper definition here. But it is the expected points added, an advanced metric that measures the change in a team's likelihood of scoring points after a specific play, considered factors like field position, down and distance. It's just a very, very popular football analytics, kind of equation that they use there. From an offensive standpoint, in comparison to the rest of the country, Kevin, Arizona, in terms of adjusted EPA per play, is 29th in offensive efficiency in the country. So top 30 in the entire country out of 136, you said?
Yeah, for the ESPN efficiency.
Well, that's the number of FBS teams that there are. The defensive EPA per play, Kevin, number 1 in the entire country.
Wow.
Number 1 in the entire country.
That's shocking, actually.
Let me read to you the top 10 adjusted EPA per play defenses so far this year, Kevin. Your mind's about to be blown. You know what? I'll start at 11, just for the sake of it.
Okay.
Texas Tech at 11.
You have my ear already.
San Diego State at 10. Oregon 9. LSU 8. BYU 7. Maryland 6. Penn State 5. Ohio State 4. Oklahoma 3. And Texas 2. Your Arizona Wildcats are number 1 on that adjusted EPA per play on the defensive side of the football. You have a top 30 offense. You have the number 1 defense in the country as it currently stands. And your special teams unit is so damn bad that we're sitting up here on a Monday afternoon, the opposite of a victory Monday, a defeat Monday, Kevin, if you will. I don't know a better word
Ellen
for that.
Monday?
Sure. We'll roll with it. And you're sitting here going, I don't know how good this Arizona team is, solely because the special teams is as bad as it has been so far this season.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, to underline it just even further, like the fact that we're talking about special teams at all on a Monday, if it's not like a spectacular game-winning kick or like an onside kick that saves the game, we shouldn't. It's like one of those thankless jobs.
Yes.
With all due respect, it is a thankless role.
Long snapping is it like number 1 thankless job on a football field is like you will never get plaudits as a long snapper for making a proper long snap, but God forbid you make a bad one.
Yeah. And it's something like, Damon and I, you and I off air often talk about, we're not offensive line like technicians. Like, we can't get in that room and tell, Rhino exactly what was causing his holdings early in the season. Or
I'm not Mo Paina.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Shout out to Mo Paina as well, by the way. Great account to follow on Twitter. He's killing it right now with the tweets, just breaking down his opinions. But when Rhino goes out and does something like the clothesline against K-State, anybody with eyes can see that that's not how that was supposed to go and that someone made a mistake. To your point about the long snappers, from the coaches, from the players on the team, you're probably going to get some plaudits if you have a perfect long snap. From that special teams field goal unit, Craig Naivar might come over and say, that was a hell of a snap, great job. But that's it, right? No one at home noticed unless they played special teams or coached special teams or have a loved one that plays special teams. But when you do mess up, to your point, Damon, it is extremely loud, and it can cost you a lot of momentum in a football game. And the fact that we are, to your point, spending the first block of our show now talking about Arizona special teams does show you that they have been not anything that you want to associate yourself with if you're head coach Brent Brennan right now, right? I mean, to your point about Mo on Twitter, he was getting into it in my replies with someone, not like in a negative way, but they were discussing the special teams issue, and they were saying, like, to your point on the post game, like, what were we doing all off season? Like, you allocated resources to go hire Craig Naivar, right? To be like, all right, well, at least we have someone specialized for special teams to do this and have this unit be a helpful part of going bowling this year in 2025. And yet you have this issue where it's worse than it was last year from a special teams perspective, because now you don't have Tyler Loop to really mask any possible errors on that side of the ball, Damon. And it really is like a confusing issue. And you went out and allocated resources to that. And I don't want to, I don't really know for certain that this was the case, but I would assume and hope that this was the case. This is a Brent Brennan hire, right? And so, like, if this is, as people were joking on Twitter, like the Dino Babers of this year, where you went out and made a hire that you think is like, hey, we needed this person in this job of handling this personnel, and it just was loud wrong, right? Yeah. You might have got it right with Seth Dagey. You might have got it right promoting Danny Gonzalez. You might have got it right, extremely right, bringing in Joe Salavea. But one wrong hire can really, really sour the bunch. It's like fruit. If you have a moldy piece of strawberry, it doesn't matter how beautiful the strawberries in the corner of the package are. The mold is slowly going to crawl its way over there. And that's how it felt watching on Saturday, right? Like, the offense is out of sync. The offense is out of sync, but it started in sync. The defense, it was doing its job to start the game. I know that they did go down and score on their first drive, but they were not making it easy on Iowa State, but they're also getting put on consistently poor field position and consistently poor positioning from the offensive special teams. So, yeah, that special teams unit, that is the moldy strawberry of the 2025 Arizona football season right now.
It well and truly is, Kevin. And not to derail this, but Bees just put in some like ASU fight song. I felt like ChatGPT wrote that. Is that the most like I'm not saying every college fight song is like this, so this is not an ASU attack, but I'm just reading it. Give them hell. I mean, you could change this to any team is my point. Like, give them hell, Mountaineers, cheer for WVU, fight for the Old Navy, for its hail, the gang's all here and onward to victory. I mean, it works for every single team alive. I think that's,
and to back up
when
your
you read
point,
stuff like that, it's like,
it is. And to back up your point on our like back end of things, we don't see the emojis as pretty as you guys do in the chat. So it's like PHNX Sparky, PHNX forks up, and it's just like, this is the most AI generated message that's ever AI generated.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, shout out to Bees for your pride in your school.
Thank you, Bees, for being here. Thank you to all the ASU people, Sharon as well, some of the other people here in the chat.
Iowa State,
we
Travis,
appreciate you.
Shout out.
My guy Travis Helm here in the chat, Travis Clones. Congrats on your big victory on Saturday, my good sir. And I hope that the tailgate went fun. Now, that seems like that's a bucket list thing. We got to get out there to Ames and experience that tailgate. But yeah, Kevin, it's disappointing. It's disappointing because, like you say, Brent Brennan has to wear it. And here's what I'll actually, like, in response to what you just said, to get this thing back on topic here. I know that Craig Nyvar is the special teams coordinator, but it doesn't take a special teams expert or coordinator to see kickers missing kicks in practice and say, this is not good enough.
True.
So even though Brent Brennan made that Craig Nyvar hire, I'm almost like upset at Brent Brennan for watching this whole spring, this whole fall, and being like, we don't need to bring in any sort of transfers to this team, to this kicking situation, because we're covered. We got it good. Our punter / kicker is really, really good, even though he does both inconsistently. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's where, for me, it's even more on Brent Brennan, because he has eyes. He's at practice. He's watching all of the special teams, you know, what, I don't know why I'm blanking on it. Issues? No, yes, but the periods. They do like special teams periods at practice. Yeah. He's out there watching all the special teams periods, and yet he's walking away going, man, I got a lot of confidence in this crew. Or is it that he didn't recruit well enough, which also falls upon him, right? So in either regard, it's like your evaluations were bad, your recruiting was bad. It's one of the two. It's a combination of both, but you failed on the special team standpoint of this entire offseason, while seemingly doing a really good job at fixing a lot of the other issues. But, man, that's just going to be debilitating all season long, and I feel like that's going to be my new favorite word.
Debilitating it might be. Positivity devil's advocate, I will play. Because for the record, I agree with you. This does seem like it's something that's going to continue to be a theme on this podcast of you and I complaining about MSM and the special teams unit. However, to Bees' point, right, comparing U of A special teams to ASU special teams, their special teams unit is not special either, right? However, it was still part of the reason why you're winning that game now. You should never have been in the position to kick a game-winning field goal, because your kicker, whose name I'm blanking on right now, even though we discussed him all morning with Eric, but should have hit 2 earlier in the game, and you would never have been in that position. But my point is, you can have a kicker who, even in one game, you're looking at and saying, oh, it's a wash. Like, it's over. Like, they're never going to be a kicker that can come through for us. And then they do come through for you, and it changes the story in a lot of ways, right? But I think that that should not erase the story, right, from the past of, like, if this is the story of Arizona's special teams this season, Damon, like, it takes your odds of having that top-end ceiling season that you could have with this roster, and it drops it way closer to whatever the floor is for this year's roster, because, like you alluded to, it does not take a special teams expert like a Craig Nyvar to tell that this is not an acceptable kicking unit, right? And maybe this is a crazy statement. Maybe I'm just, the guy who never played talking ball on a podcast, but you're telling me there's not a single freshman, sophomore, or junior at the University of Arizona that has like a football or soccer background that can just boom that thing? You're telling me of all the 50,000, however many students are in Tucson on that campus, you can't find one with a working left or right leg to kick? I don't know. I don't believe that.
That's what ASU fans were talking about all season last season with their horrific kicking situation. Granted, they had an actual really good football team as part of it, and we kind of have a more mediocre one. So I guess the scale of that is a little bit different, but yeah, it's brutal. When you can't trust your kicker, it's brutal because and you saw it the way it played out against Iowa State, and this is not to say that this game would have been a different result if otherwise, but because I think Iowa State wins that game 99 times out of 100 probably. But if you kick that opening field goal, if MSM hits that and it's 3-0 Cats, that changes the outlook of the game because essentially Iowa State got the ball and in 2 minutes they scored a touchdown. They ran a swinging gate for a 2-point conversion.
They probably don't go for two if you have points on the board, because not to cut you off, but I feel like that is them being like, oh, they gave us an advantage. Let's go grab it by the neck, take control of this game, put them down plus a touchdown plus, right? And really put them in a deep hole here to start this game, like you said. Yeah, no, certainly. I think, this is a situation where, the special teams really let you down early on, and just it's a deflating momentum type of moment. Like that's one of those ones where it's like, okay, well, he had an awful game last week. He just came out here a minute into this one and missed a kick already. And so now we can basically just chalk up that he's not going to give you anything positive the rest of the game, right? Because he's probably in his own head about it. And being a kicker is such a mental thing. Like it's I think most of these guys have the talent to make all these kicks, right? That's why they're at this level. But it's very much like a mental fortitude type of job. I was talking with my friend tonight, Kevin. I was telling you how I have two friends that are like really good kickers, and they didn't even kick in college. They didn't get hardly any interest from any legit schools. And this is part of what I was complaining about on Saturday off air, was that it almost is just a complete lack of recruiting ability, evaluation ability to not have a good special teams unit, in my opinion, because there are people that are just out there, like my friends, who can consistently hit inside 50-yard field goals at like an 80% clip, and yet they're not even being talked about as college kickers somewhere. I don't know, man. It's such a mental thing, and it's such a I just think a mistake from this coaching staff all off-season long to sit there and feel comfortable with your special teams unit when it's clearly just not good enough for the level that you're playing. To your point, and I know this isn't the Mo show, but he does make a lot of great points on Twitter. Already shouted out Mo Paina, but another one here for you. Like, this is something he said this morning, right? Like with special teams, and it's like, can you just get a group of guys and rep the hell out of them for a summer? Yeah. Like, this is not like kicking and special teams and punting and all of the phases of special teams. It's not like quarterback, where you have to have some intangible set of tools. You have to be 6'4". You have to be 220 pounds. You have to run fast. You have to throw hard, right? You have to make quick decisions. This is effort, and it's technique, and it's physicality, right? Like, these are not things that you cannot find elsewhere. These are things that you can find with any players on your roster and rep the hell out of them until they get it right. And if they don't get it right, then find new players that can, right? To your point. Like, I don't think that this is something that we really should be talking about, like right now, in terms of the issues with this team. We should be talking about how much better the offensive line looked against Iowa State on Saturday than the special teams. But because, like you said, it's 134th. It's bottom three. That's why we got to talk about it. No. And like you said, right, like the misevaluation on that side of the ball is so stark and it's so loud in contrast to the, honestly, correct evaluations in a lot of other areas so far this season from the coaching staff, that it really stands out. And it really feels like, well, like we've said multiple times in this podcast, we'll say it one more time. I'll probably say it multiple times before the end of the year. That 25-point deficit does not fall all on the special teams. However, it starts with the special teams. So, it has to get cleaned up. It just has to, if Arizona really has a chance to get where they want to go this year. Yeah. And you're right, Bees. College football kicking is always a disaster. But I'd argue that the truly, elite teams or the really well-coached teams in particular, that's not as much of an issue because, you look at a team like Iowa State and Matt Campbell and the program that he's built in Ames of,
taking a school that was really nothing in the college football landscape and turning them into a perennial winner in the Big 12. Matt Campbell's on his third string kicker, guys.
Yeah.
And the dude's hitting kicks.
Yeah. They were missing their Tyler Loop.
He's hitting kicks. And he's the third string guy because Iowa State has only hit kickers on their roster that they trust to hit kicks because they know how to evaluate it. They know how to recruit at those positions. And that's what a winning, serious program does. And that's where Arizona made a huge mistake because it's like, I think you did all the other things that you needed to fix, all the glaring issues, but the special teams part of it was just like such like it seems like an afterthought of like, it'll work itself out. Michael Salgado-Medina was like a 5-star Coles Camp kicker. And you're like, but you watch him in practice? Because it's not good enough. And I saw your mom's comment up there, Kevin, about like, well, we didn't watch practice. And that is true, but we did have Justin Spears' camp reports. And in keeping up with those, it seemed like he was struggling. It seemed like he was going band for band with a walk-on whose dad used to kick at U of A and was probably like, not to be rude, but like handed a spot kind of on the team because you're connected to the program. Like, it's not a good look, man. And it shouldn't have been a competition. It should have just been like, imagine Tyler Loop in a field goal competition. They'd be like, it's actually just Tyler Loop's job. We no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's bad when you're going toe-to-toe with the walk-on when you had like expectations. And things really need to change, but I don't know how you can change that in the middle of the season. It just seems like it's going to be something that we're going to be dealing with all year long.
Yeah, and first of all, he was shoved. But like even your best player, even one of your better players is like in a position to wear a shove, to the back, albeit a light one. He's clocking guy. Like he clocked the guy, right? And it's called against Arizona. It should not have been called against Arizona because he was shoved, like I said. But when you look back on this game, it's one of those moments where it's like, damn, Dalton Johnson with a special teams penalty too. And like you said, it doesn't. I don't know what the solution is necessarily in the short term for this. But in the long term, in the long term, this feels like, and I'm not just talking about Craig Niver, I'm talking about like the roster. You got to make some personnel switches, like exchanges in terms of like, maybe this guy's just better on special teams. Maybe we thought we might gas him out if we had him on special teams, but we need him on special. Like you just have to make some hard choices with who you have out there on special teams because you cannot have efforts like this consistently. Especially, I know you have Oklahoma State right coming up this week, but the Big 12 ain't easy like Oklahoma State.
No, you could get away with it against Oklahoma State. You got away with it against Kansas State, right? Like, and Kansas State obviously like looked a lot better this weekend. I think, as we've been talking about, Kevin, like they're probably going to figure some things out, beat some teams that on paper it doesn't look like they should beat, even though UCF is not one of those teams. But like you were able to get away with it versus a team like Kansas State with the rest of your team playing out of its mind. By the way, the offense was moving the ball really effectively, even if they weren't scoring in the red zone all that effectively. And the defense was playing like the number one EPA per play defense in the country in that game. But the special teams kept Kansas State in it essentially single-handedly. And then, as we've talked about, it didn't lose you the Iowa State game, but it definitely put you off on the wrong foot to start and really deflated the momentum of this team. So it's going to be something that we're going to be monitoring all season long. I certainly am not, thrilled about it. Here's what I will say from a positivity standpoint, Kevin, about the special teams. Isaac Lovison, when he came into the game, looked like he got better and better with each punt. I believe his first punt was 35 yards. His second punt was 42 yards, and his last punt or his third punt was 55 yards. So he incrementally was getting better and better. It wasn't a situation where it was like Michael Salgado-Medina's punt on the 50-yard line where it went for 20 net, even though he kicked it for 60 yards in the air. These were legit good punts. Not the 30-yarder, but the other ones were. So hopefully Arizona can figure out that side of things a little bit more and trust Isaac Lovison and have MSM kind of focus on the field goal kicking side of things. But this special teams unit is been a disaster thus far in the season. So definitely something that we're going to have to keep track of all year long. And, unfortunately, something that it seems like we're going to have to just eat and wear and be like going and into every game being like, well, we look better on offense and defense than them, but our special teams has spotted the other team 17 points. So,
yeah, no, it's gonna be tough. I do hope that they figure out the ways in which to clean up that unit, even if it is some Band-Aid fixes. I don't want to be talking about special teams anymore. Any more Mondays. Any more Mondays, I'm talking about special teams. Somebody's failed.
It's a bad Monday.
And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, unless it's like a game-winning field goal. But
I just want to leave it. I don't want to leave Mondays for our power rankings, Damon. That's what I want to leave Mondays for. I want to leave it for our power rankings, which we're going to do after this break on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Because I don't know about Damon, but I'm done talking special teams on a Monday. And if you are like me, then that means that you are done talking special teams and ready to head down to Gila River Resorts and Casinos, where you do you. And you can experience a wide variety of very, very fun times like comedy shows, concerts, live podcast events. I saw the Big Straight Game podcast with the big Shaquille O'Neal on it, featuring our guy Mike Bibby as well. And they have multiple locations all across the Freedom State here. Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, V Kiva, and Santan Mountain. You can experience your own experience at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Go all in with the over 4,500 slots and live table games that they have, and their BetMGM Sportsbook is absolutely incredible. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details.
Playatgila.com for more details, and ShadyRays.com if you want premium polarized sunglasses for not a premium price, because guys, Shady Rays is taking over the sunglasses game. Our promo code of PHNX is going to get you 35% off your first pair of premium polarized sunglasses. And they are shades that are rated by 5 stars by over 300,000 people. So these are the real deal. I, of course, have some nice golf shades, Kevin, that I got from our friends at Shady Rays. If I happen to maybe sit down on those in the car, maybe lose them at a restaurant that I hit after a golf round or something, I would just hit up Shady Rays' support team and just say, hey guys, broke my sunglasses, don't know what to tell you, don't have anything else for you. And they'd say, no worries, Damon. We're just going to send you a brand new pair. We're going to make it nice and simple. All you got to do is pay the shipping cost. It is that easy. And I know as a man like myself who loses his sunglasses all the damn time, that is a huge, huge asset to have that insurance policy on those sunglasses, Kevin. So we've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you this exclusive offer of 35% off. With our promo code of PHNX, you can get yourself some premium polarized shades. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. We got Glenn here in the chat saying, funny how special teams is getting all the talking. Your D-line was being dared to stop QB sneaks and pushed back. I don't have any quarrels with the D-line at all, Kevin. Iowa State ran the football 47 times for 111 yards. That's 2.4 yards per clip. That includes sacks as well, to which Arizona had 2 sacks. They had 7 TFLs. I mean, I don't think the defensive line was necessarily the issue, even though, you're getting pushed back on those QB sneaks. Iowa State has an extremely physical team. As we talked about all week, they play like a Big Ten team. It's not the best thing in the world, and obviously you don't want to lose the short yardage battle, but the D-line didn't lose you this game. The D-line did their job for the most part. It was the special teams that lost you the game, and also the offense, in my opinion. The defense was by far the least of my worries after Saturday.
Yes, I will say to Glenn and Nick's point, though, in the chat, is that it was incredibly frustrating that, and there was context and reason for it, like you said, the physicality and the I would say just the longevity of scouting these types of players for Iowa State bared its dividends right on Saturday night. But it was frustrating, right, to know that any 1 to 2 yard fourth and or short and would be a tush push, and it would be a first down or a touchdown, because I think I said this to you live during the game. They ran a tush push, and I was like butter. It's cutting through butter.
He didn't even get tackled. He ran a tush push, and he's standing up in the end zone afterwards being like,
and so
here's the ball, ref, and you're like, no one.
Did they run a play?
Contact?
Was there a penalty?
Yeah. And I agree, those were way too easy, but also I can't sit here and be like the D-line really screwed us and let us down on Saturday when Iowa State's running game was completely ineffective for their standard. Carson Hansen is a good player, and he had 19 carries for 63 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. He had some good plays, but it wasn't on him. It was I honestly, I was way more scared of deep passes to Chase Sowell, who was just catching everything. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Do you want a stat about the deep passes? Sure. That I got from our guy Justin Spears here on Twitter. He tweeted it out earlier today, and he said, where would it? Pretty much he said that Arizona allowed just as many passes of 15-plus yards against Iowa State than they did all season thus far. You know what I mean? And to your point, it's it just felt like ball over the top, ball over the top. And every time it was a ball over the top, it was not only a perfect ball from Rocco Becht, but there was not a lot of resistance to make it impossible for the receiver to come down with that, right? Like,
yeah, and I think what goes into that, Kevin, is, and this does actually adhere to Glenn's point a little bit further, is I'm sure Arizona was going out there being like, we got to stop the run against this team because this is such a physical football team. And that leads to, we're going to trust our DBs to be on islands one-on-one with people because on paper, this defense is its catalyst, its driving force is the defensive back room, right? So you're going to live and die with your DBs. You're going to put these guys on islands, and you're going to kind of load the box up to take away the run a little bit more, and it just didn't work out because Iowa State's a team that can beat you in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, that is well said, Damon. And if you are in this chat and you have, any issues with Arizona's performance on Saturday that we have not talked about, please drop it in the chat. And while you're at it, drop a like on this video as well. It takes just like half a second to do it, and it helps me and Damon so much. You guys have no idea at all. Yeah, you guys are the best. You guys are the absolute best supporters in all of sports podcasting, our PHNX faithful. So we love you all. Please leave a like. And should we get to these power rankings, Damon?
Let's do it, Kevin. We do have a lot to get into from a power rankings standpoint here on the AZ Wildcats pod. And I can't wait to discuss, kind of how things changed here in the Big 12 conference. If I was to, Kevin, go look at the Big 12 scores real quick and maybe just kind of let people know maybe if they're not necessarily up to date with everything that happened in the Big 12 this week. Arizona State on Friday night beat TCU 27-24 in an absolute thriller in Tempe.
Go Frogs.
Yes, I was escorted from the stadium.
Cheryl Reeves
style afterwards. Houston took down Oregon State 27-24. Oregon State's 0-5. They're horrific, and that was a close game. I think that's a bad showing for a Houston team that a lot of people have been hyped up on. BYU beats Colorado 24-21 on the road, and Colorado put up a good effort in that one. Dion, after the game, said they should have gotten the win, but BYU ultimately gets the win. And Bear Bachmeier looks pretty good in the process, actually. Cincinnati, a huge road W against Kansas, going into Lawrence, winning 37-34, and Aaron Morton making me look like an absolute idiot after the bad things I said about him last week. Kansas State gets the job done against UCF, winning by 2 touchdowns, Kevin, in a game where I was told Kansas State was a horrifying joke to the sport of football and that they were the 16th best team in this conference. But turns out they're actually not that bad, and they're way better than their record states. Interesting how that works. Baylor beats Oklahoma State 45-27, but that first half was way closer than you want that one to be. It was 28-20 at the end of the first half. Baylor's defense just not very good. And then Utah beats West Virginia, routs them 48-14. For perhaps the easiest cover of the weekend, somehow Kevin and I did not pick that as one of our best bets.
Yeah, it was right there.
Minus 12.5. Well, I bet on it in real life. I just didn't take it on the show.
It was
disaster.
Right there. It was right there.
It was.
Damn. Yeah, no, there were some good games this past weekend, Damon. You also had the absolute duel between Sorsby and Jalen Daniels, which I was very happy to be watching, not very happy to be gambling on because I did lose that bet as well. Did I go 0-3? I did go 0-3 this past week. Ugh, gross. But yeah, no, it was a good week of Big 12 football, Damon. It's now that, like, I said this to you pre-show, now that we're like in conference play, these games really get interesting. Like, there's a lot on the line. Like, we're talking about ASU's first conference game or second conference game so far this season, and already it's like it's Big 12 title on the line.
2 3-point wins, yeah.
And it's like, this is I know we don't really like ASU, but it's in the Big 12, and this is like Big 12 football. So I'm very excited about the stakes that we're getting into as the year gets a little older, Damon.
I texted Shane on Friday night. We were talking about just how good the game was. Like, obviously the result is not what I want, what Kevin wants, what Arizona fans want, as we're hate watching ASU. But just like, this conference is just so damn fun, man. Like,
yeah,
you get games like that every week, and it feels like there's really like 6-7 teams in this conference that will play you that way every single game. It doesn't matter who you line up against. ASU last year, being the best team in the conference, they didn't go out there and just crush teams. They went out there and won every single close game that they played in, as they've continued to do so this year in conference, not out of conference. But it's an insanely fun conference where it feels like top to bottom, it's just like you don't really even have gimmies. Like I know Baylor and I know Oklahoma State's kind of a gimme, but Baylor was given a test by Oklahoma State this past weekend. UCF is not horrendous. Like Kansas State is gonna give you a decent game for the most part. This conference is just really just so fun, top to bottom.
And to your point about Oklahoma State, those are still players that are trying to go get playtime elsewhere and get some tape on themselves to go play elsewhere.
Sure,
right?
Yeah.
So it's not like the coaching staff might be a bunch of lame ducks right now in a lot of ways, but those players, they're still fighting for dollars and fighting for PT elsewhere, or maybe in a promotion next year under a new coach at Oklahoma State, whatever it may be. But speaking of Oklahoma State, let's get into our bottom four here on our power rankings. I'll start with mine, and then we'll go to Damon's. Not going to take too much time with these teams. Oklahoma State, not good. Fired Mike Gundy. They did, though, give Baylor a good run for their money there in the first 5 minutes or so of that game. I'm being facetious. But I kind of, as I said to Nick Arenas, chalked that up to, the juice from a coach firing and people not believing in you.
Yeah.
And then also Baylor's defense just being Swiss cheese. Yeah. West Virginia, welcome back to your
rightful place.
Yeah, rightful tier on this list. UCF, I guess I could say the same for you, even though I do think that you're better than a lot of people are giving you credit for. This is kind of just where you belong right now in a very deep, deep conference. Colorado probably could have won that game at home against BYU, did not come out on top, and you dropped back into the bottom four of my power rankings.
Yeah, I think those are fair, Kevin. We'll bring up my list here, and I'm pretty sure it's the exact same. Yeah, it's just obviously our arrows are a little bit different, but bringing UCF back down to 14, Oklahoma State, West Virginia are in their same spots, their rightful bottom two spots. And then Colorado bumps up after a decent showing for me against BYU despite the loss.
Yeah, and that's kind of like when I saw Colorado move up on your list, I was like, whoa, they're moving up. But I was like, I get it. UCF got to go down. Colorado, they did put in a good showing against one of the better defenses in the conference as well.
If Colorado won, I was prepared to put them above us. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that necessarily, but a win,
it'd be a huge win.
A win against BYU, I think, would be better than any win that we've had this season, and they came very, very close to doing so. So I can't justify it in a loss, but they were close to being above Arizona for me.
I would agree with that. I think it's certainly a good conversation to have, considering Arizona had a very tough, harsh, to quote Brent Brennan, loss on Saturday. I don't think that's crazy at all. Moving into our 12 through 9 slots, K-State, welcome back. Number 12 on my list, moving up after defeating UCF. Getting out of the bottom four is K-State, but not too far from it. Houston, you do fall because, look, I bet on you this past weekend. Let's just keep it real. I had much higher expectations for this football program, and Willie Fritz, the ball coach that he is, won the game but didn't cover for me.
Embarrassing.
He falls to 14-8 ATS as a road favorite of whatever the stat was that I gave during my bet segment. Very disappointed in Willie Fritz, the ball coach, and his program. They do drop even though they caught the W. And then Kansas, Jalen Daniels absolutely played his rear end off in that game.
Yeah, but it was 19 completions for over 400 yards.
445 yards. I got it right here. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 67.9 completion percentage for Jalen Daniels and Brennan Sorsby, who we're going to get to in a little bit later on this list, because welcome to the top half, Cincinnati. And then, yeah, you have Arizona at 9 on my list. Just yikes of a game in a lot of ways. Flash me back to last year in all the wrong ways. Special teams was a mess, as we outlined for half an hour on this podcast. No Fifita, he was off target. And it was just not good enough. Not good enough in so many different regards for Arizona. They do fall, but the season is long and the schedule is favorable.
Yeah, there's a lot of football left, but I not to derail this real quick, Kevin, but Glenn says, what's the spread for Oklahoma State? I'm guessing 9.5. What's your guess for the spread for Oklahoma State game?
I already know it. Yeah.
Glenn, let me just say you're way off.
You are way off.
Like, try double. Try multiplying by 2.
Yeah.
And then add a couple extra on top of that.
Yeah. When I checked, it opened
it's
at
20.5 right now.
Okay,
what I'm looking at.
Because it opened at 19.5. So yeah, that is where the spread is at for that game. But back to our power rankings. It should be
an absolute pumping.
It should. It should be an absolute
at
blowout.
Home,
yes.
They don't have that momentum of losing their coach anymore. You just lost a huge, heartbreaking, momentum killing loss. Like, you got to go out there and it's got to be statement win. But getting into my next 4 here on my power rankings, I'm going Kansas State at 12, bumping them up to the same spot you had them, Kevin, after kind of a very let's call it an easy win. Maybe not an easy win, a comfortable win against UCF, where they were really in control the entire time. I got Arizona at 11, and I'm jumping them a couple spots after in my opinion, a very much like level finder type of game. Told us what we need to know about this team, and I hope that they prove me wrong later in the season. But I think that told us that this team is what we thought they were, and that's a bowl team. Like, that's a borderline bowl caliber team that's going to win anywhere from like 5 to 7 football games, and that's kind of where I think the Cats are at right now. Maybe they prove me wrong. I hope they do, but that's what last Saturday taught me personally. Moving forward here, I got Kansas moving down after a tough home loss to Cincinnati, who I didn't rate very highly. And then Houston, I know I'm bumping them up. It's because I had them below U of A, and U of A lost, and Houston won. Not impressed by what Houston did this weekend at all. I think in a lot of cases they might warrant a drop, but I just had to drop Kansas because, you know, they lost another one that they maybe should have won. That's 2 in a row.
Dude,
now.
Where could Kansas be if some stuff broke the other way?
Yeah, that's
already
what I'm saying.
This year.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They got 2 losses already, so I think you got to give them flack for that. But they easily could be in a much different position. Meanwhile, Houston's still undefeated, so that's where my logic goes on that. But that's my bottom half.
We are done with the bottom half, moving into the top half after our final break here today on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Leave a like, stay tuned for the second half of our power rankings. Fooled you there. You thought we were going to get top half? No, we're going to get ad time. And while we're doing this, let's talk about, I know it's hard. I know it's hard after a loss, guys, but you got to represent the Arizona Wildcats even after a harsh loss, even after they go out and have some of the worst special teams that have ever been fielded since Bishop Foreman took the field, right? I think that Rally House is the way to get back on track if you're an Arizona Wildcat fan. They have 39 plus pages of Arizona Wildcats memorabilia on their website, and that's www.rallyhouse.com. You can check out their full assortment of stuff, everything from like dog collars to like, I don't know, jerseys, t-shirts, coasters, everything that you want for your home, for your body, for your apparel. They got it in your team's favorite style. So find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com.
Rally House, great apparel over there, and also great lids over at Branded Bills, guys. BrandedBills.com, the ultimate custom headwear and apparel. Whether it's a snapback, trucker, fitted, beanie, even a t-shirt, Branded Bills has you covered, and we all know about their beautiful, wonderful campus collection. I have a custom hat on right now for PHNX that we have, our Phoenix hat that you can get on our website, that is absolutely pristine. But Kevin, I gotta say, my favorite Branded Bills stuff that they have is that campus collection. We've seen in Tucson some of those wonderful hats. They have their own special Branded Bills section at the bookstore with over like 20 to 30 hats that you can choose from. Styles that they do not sell anywhere online, exclusive to that bookstore, but they also have some great online styles as well that represent Arizona. So go check those out for yourself. Check out that campus collection. Check out those U of H hats. If you're a nasty freak in here and you like ASU, maybe that you go check out those hats instead. But, I will not be checking out any of those hats. I will be keeping it to my Arizona hats and my beautiful lids that Branded Bills has me covered with every single day of the week. Head to brandedbills.com, use code BBPHNX, and get 15% off your first order, Kevin.
Make sure to do that. Head over to Branded Bills and get going with that promo code. And we're going to get going with the top half of our Big 12 power rankings. This is mine. I have Cincinnati. Welcome to the top half. They did it, Damon. They did it. The Cincinnati Bearcats. They did it. They literally did it. Damon and I were saying you're going to be mid, that we don't really know what to do with you. You're just in that 11 spot probably all season. Never going to move up, never going to move down. And here you are with a huge road win against Kansas. Brendan Sorsby absolutely have a day. He's having a season so far. 10 straight touchdowns since his week 1 performance where he went 0-1 to the touchdown interception ratio against Nebraska. In that game where him and Jalen Daniels were doing the dueling banjos, you had 388 yards, 67.4% completion.
That's what they say we do on our podcast every day, Kevin. It's literally dueling banjos every day. Damon v. Kevin. That's what I said last week.
It is Damon v. Kevin. Spencer liked that one. Retweeted it as well. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions from Brendan Sorsby in that game. Helped lead his team, truly led his team to the victory in that one. The Bearcats piled up 600 yards of total offense, and you also had the very, very, very fortunate turnover on the goal line where Kansas had driven all the way down to the 1-yard line and fumbled it on the goal line with a chance to take control of the game. And then Cincinnati, you got Iowa State next. What do you got? Can you help us out? Really is what I'm asking. Can you go out there and get whooped and make our loss look a little bit better? Because we got Eric Ruby in the office being like, Arkansas State, the point differential in that game is a lot less than the point differential in your game. What does it really mean? It means nothing, Eric. It means absolutely nothing.
The pinnacle of analysis, the transitive property.
And so, yeah, for that purpose, I need Cincinnati to go out here and lay down and just absolutely get destroyed by Iowa State. But who knows if that happens. Getting back into my power rankings, Baylor at number 7. They do get the W. Their defense is still a massive problem.
Did you have them 8 last week?
I believe so.
You basically Arizona dropped. And
Arizona dropped and
moved up.
Practically yes. Baylor gets the W, but Dave Aranda's defense looks awful. Sawyer Robertson's still a baller. BYU, big road W. Bear Bachmeier grows a lot. Defense is still top tier in a lot of ways. TCU moves down after the loss on the road to ASU. It's a tough game there. ASU, you're going to be seeing them in the Final Four here for my power rankings as well. So that is my 8 through 5.
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar to what I got here, Kevin, if not exactly the same, as I have Cincinnati as my 8th team as well. I guess we have Baylor and BYU flipped here. And my reasoning, I guess, is because I very much believe more in Sawyer Robertson than Bear Bachmeier. If I had to, you put a gun to my head. But really, when I was putting this list together, Kevin, funny enough, these were the two teams I was like, I don't know who'd win that football game.
I was about to say, are you sure that Bear Bachmeier wouldn't look like Sawyer Robertson against Baylor's defense?
Probably. He probably would. He probably would. And what does Sawyer Robertson look like against that elite BYU defense? That would be an interesting matchup, like of good on good and bad on bad. But I think that this game would be really, truly interesting. For me, there's a top 5 clear cut in the Big 12 right now. If we were tier ranking this, Kevin, I think Baylor and BYU are maybe a slight step above this next crew. And then probably like 8 through 12, 8 through 13, I think is a pretty similar caliber of teams as well that are going to give each other really, really tough games. I think it's going to be tough to look at like a Cincinnati versus a Kansas. And, as we go on in the season and say who's going to win that one between these two teams, because it really could go any other way, right? Like it's this conference is just so insane in that regard. But if I was tier ranking it, I'd say there's a clear cut top 5 for me. 6 and 7 are together. 8 through 13 are kind of together, and then there's a bottom 3. But to kind of start off this top 5, I got TCU, who, despite the loss on the road by 3, I think it was a good showing. They only dropped 1 spot for me. I think you have to drop compared to some of these other top teams in this conference. But TCU, it was a good performance. They easily could have won. You had a 17-point lead on the road against a very, very good Arizona State team. And frankly, you blew it. But it was it wasn't a poor performance by any regard. And I think Josh Hoover is still one of the better quarterbacks in the conference, even if his second half in particular was pretty lackluster. It did feel like the crowd was getting into it, especially in that fourth quarter. And it was getting Josh Hoover a little bit riled up. But the first 3 quarters, he looked fairly comfortable.
Wait,
know what happened.
Damon, stop, full stop. You're telling me that a home crowd was down 3 possessions and was not firing on all cylinders? And then when they got back in the game, they turned it up? Is that the crazy take you're trying to tell me?
This is petty, Kevin. This is petty. I'm above this. I've moved on from the weekend and my spat with ASU fans over the weekend. We're going to find something new to argue about here in the future.
That's just what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was, Glenn, I just said that. 2 turnovers, 3 points in the fourth quarter. I just was saying that the fourth quarter, Josh Hoover looked like crap because of ASU's defense, because ASU's defense is very good. And you're about to see where I have ASU on my rankings. So maybe we slow down for a bit, Buster. Let me get to it.
Let's just get to it now, Damon. This is Damon's top 4.
I'm not being disrespectful at all. I just put you guys ahead of the team that just beat us by 25 because I think you guys are so damn good. And that's no disrespect to Iowa State. I just think ASU is a very, very good football team. I really do. They should be undefeated. Sam Leavitt caused them to not be. Fact. Yeah. Sorry if that hurts your feelings, but fact. The Devils should be undefeated. They should be a top 10 team, and they're not because they're quarterback. But he has figured things out the last couple weeks. looked great against TCU, especially in that second half. And yeah, I mean, I think you got to give them their respect where it's due. But for me, Texas Tech is still the top dog. You can't take them off after a bye week. And that defense has truly been insane in the way that they handled Utah. But I got ASU at 2. This would be my Big 12 championship game if I had to pick one today. I got Iowa State at 3. Just a tick, Kevin, just a tick below ASU, like by the thinnest of razor margins, because I really, really do respect Iowa State, and they don't belong. They don't deserve to move down after a 25-point blowout of a team that they had a 3.5-point spread on, because that tells you that it was supposed to be a close game, and it wasn't because they dominated so much. But I think I really, what goes into that for me is that I think that spread was disrespectful to them and has a lot more to do with us being worse than we thought than them being better than we thought, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense.
Those are my rankings. And who did I have 4th? I had Utah 4th. Yeah, they had a great game this week. They deserve it. I think this is. I feel pretty comfortable with this list.
As you should, Damon. It is your list. I like your list. Honestly, our lists are pretty similar as we switch from yours to mine here. I have Utah falling to number 4 on my list. I have ASU moving up to number 3. And honestly, like you said, I'm really glad that you brought up that point about how small the margin feels between ASU and Iowa State.
Yeah.
Because that's a game I'm like honestly dying to see. I need to see that matchup this season. I need to see it
I'm
back.
having nightmare Vietnam War flashbacks of the Big 12 championship game just thinking about it. So I don't think I need to see that.
I need to see it because I think Iowa State wins the game. But I want to see it because I think it's going to be great. It would be great football regardless because, like you said, Arizona State is a really good program.
I'm very
move up to
pessimistic,
3.
Kevin, but I just think ASU is going to win every game by 3 points the entire rest of the year. Like, that's just how it feels it's going to go. That's how it went last year. That's how it's gone this year. And I'm just sitting here sick to my stomach being like, are they just going to win every close game, man? Is Kenny just that guy? Like, is he just – it just feels like they just have this much more than their opponent in every game. Yeah. Even the Mississippi State game. Like, it took a fluke play. Otherwise, they did have another fourth quarter comeback.
No, yeah, you're not wrong. And that is why they do come in 3rd on my list, just behind Iowa State, who, like you said, should not move down after a 25-point victory, and they were already in that second slot. You got to do worse than that to lose your spot. ASU, though, I think makes this a clear top 3, I will say. Yes. Right? I think right now this is the clear top 3 in the conference. Texas Tech, Iowa State, ASU. And then you also have Utah kind of lingering around there. Devin Dampier, I do want to give a shout out to because we were harsh on him after that Texas Tech game, but he kind of deserved it. He did go out there, had 21 for 26 on 237 yards, 4 touchdowns, which is tied his career high. They do have a bye week, or they're heading into a bye week before facing Arizona in 2 weeks there, Damon. So that's my power rankings.
Yeah, pretty close here, Kevin. We have Iowa State and ASU flipped. We have Baylor and BYU flipped. And you're a little bit higher on Arizona, as is consistent with our podcast forever.
But like, to be fair, not by much this time.
Oh no,
in the past couple weeks though, it's been different.
I'm not trying to call you like a homer. I'm just saying it's funny. You're always going to be. What's Damon have Arizona at? Put them 2 spots higher.
So
or vice versa. What's Kevin have Arizona at? Drop him a couple. But yeah, I definitely am. I mean, it's been exciting to watch this conference, but I would be lying if I said I wasn't shaking my shoes a little bit, being like, man, these dudes are just gonna win every game by a field goal in the end, and I'm gonna have people on my timeline calling me the worst names you've ever heard for I don't know what exactly, respecting them every week. Like that's the part that I don't get, Kevin, is the ASU fans that hate me despite me putting them like higher and higher and higher every single week, and genuinely speaking from what my brain is telling me. Like, here's the thing that we don't do on this podcast, and I'm not going to call out any other podcasts that may or may not be at this company, but Kevin and I, we speak from truly what we feel. We don't make stuff up to kind of dive headfirst into a rivalry and talk crap and rile up the ASU fans. If you guys get riled up by what we say, that's not to say that, we didn't expect that, but it is to say that we believe what we're saying. We're not just making it up to troll. And in this case, I think ASU is damn good, sadly.
And to underline your point further, right, I do have people in my mentions going back to our old, now outdated power rankings and being like, So what's the update now, guys?
Oh,
what is it?
You mean in week 2?
And I'm like, well, that was
went
genuinely a month ago now when they were playing really bad, and Sam Levitt had to get ditched live in action for running backs because he's RB2, right? And
RB3 in that one.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But it's like, that was then. They've now strung together multiple good performances. They look like them old selves from the Big 12 championship in a lot of ways last year, right? Things change. If they go on a run of losing, do you want us to keep them up there because of what they did?
The power rankings are not our preseason poll that we had put together with preconceived notions. The power rankings are in nature reactive.
Yes.
That's the whole point of them. So,
and by next Monday at 3 p.m., this power ranking will be outdated in a lot of ways.
Correct.
Sorry about it. But no, like we do update these weekly.
It's harder earlier in the season because you have less to work off of versus now. Like there's more of a body of work. There's more of a sample size. But I don't believe I ever said that ASU was the luckiest team in the country. I think what I said was it luck or was it your coach is that guy? And,
is your coach cold-blooded?
I merely asked the question and raised the talking point, which to what I just said 5 minutes ago, it's starting to feel like the coach, and I hate that with everything inside of me. Well, please make it stop.
If you ask the quarterback, it's because he's cold-blooded.
Right? Well, the defense is cold-blooded. But
true. The defense is cold-blooded.
Sam's staying that behind closed doors, just not with the camera on him.
True. But back to the Arizona side of things, Damon. I wanted to talk about this before we wrap up today's show. It's not all bad for Arizona right now. It feels really bad because it feels like we're back in 2024 because we haven't beat anybody of note this season.
This game was a 2024 game.
It was a 2024 game. It felt like right out of the time capsule from last season. But we talked about this on the post-game show, and if you weren't there, please go check it out. But the schedule is fine. We got this. The schedule is favorable to Arizona. On the other hand, and this is not saying that they're going to struggle with it or that it's going to be awful in results, but I'm saying like you could have ASU's Big 12 schedule, which is a murderer's row of this conference, right? Mm-hmm. Like if they lose a couple in there, genuinely no shame to them because that's a hell of a schedule you got. On the other side of this coin, Arizona, if we were to lose a couple of these conference games that I think you and I are looking at saying that they should have a better chance in, some real alarms start to sound. Like if you drop one to like, I don't know, which team do you think you would place in that? Like if Arizona lost
Here's one, and this isn't even like, I don't think if Arizona lost to BYU, it's a disaster. But if Arizona got blown out at home by BYU, I think that would be like a real like, man, this team actually sucks. You know? Because that game has to be competitive.
Yeah.
You have to finally go up against a good Big 12 team and give them a solid game. It's been a year and a half, Kevin. It's been a year and a half, and you haven't given any solid Big 12 opponent an actual game of football.
You could argue Utah last season, but
they were horrible. They were worse than us.
No, I know, but I think if you told Twitter that, I think the Utah crazy
at the time, and we almost beat Texas Tech last season, but we shot ourselves in the foot about 30 times and lost that game because that's what bad football teams do. So that's where I'm like, you gotta like. I guess that was probably the most competitive game against a decent team that we had was Texas Tech last year. But even that game, like, you know, that game was just a comedy of mistakes and errors from Arizona's standpoint. Like clearly they were a bad football team after watching that one. But yeah, it's time to actually have like a competitive game against like a legit Big 12 opponent. That's what would make me feel more comfortable about this season because we all know Oklahoma State's a must win. And we're going to talk about that all week long. But there's a lot of other games that are definitely more up in the air that it's like you gotta find a way to win a couple games that are gonna have tight spreads.
Yeah, and then second positivity point: the O-line was better, right? Noah Fifita had time to make decisions a lot of the time. Sometimes they were incorrect, or sometimes they were not executed properly. But the O-line improved. You did not have silly, harmful offensive line penalties come your way this week against Iowa State. You really couldn't afford them in a 25-point loss. So, yes. And then Ismail Mahdi is a psycho, and I love that man. And I felt like on Monday I wanted to talk a little bit about Ismail Mahdi because he's just the best. And, yeah, those were some of my positive takes to end today's show because I feel like, we spent today's show complaining about the special teams and doing our Big 12 power rankings, which at the end had ASU in the top 3 on both of ours. And I'm kind of sick to my stomach at the end of this show, so I wanted to end with some positivity. Is that okay?
I guess, Kevin. Yeah, we need that. We need that on a Monday, on a defeat Monday. A sad, brutal, disgusting
Melancholy
loss Monday.
I will say, Jason Forrester in the chat says, back to Earth, when did y'all ever leave Earth? And I will say this, like, Damon and I don't think we're ever too crazy in our preseason expectations for this team. I was a little even more optimistic than Damon was. I was saying it could be like a 5 to 8 range win. I think Damon was more cemented in that 5 to 7, like less on the super high ceiling of 8 wins. But I think like coming back down to earth in the sense of, okay, they like the offense is not 180 from last year just because it's looked really good so far, right? The defense is not, right, this unit that is like an absolute shutdown unit no matter who they play, right? You have to still put them in positions to be successful. The special teams is not only not as good as we thought, we never thought it was good, it's a detriment right now to your program. So I think it was more of a reality check in the sense of, even for those of us who thought bowling should be like the absolute floor for this year's team, it was still like all right, let's keep watch for where this team is really at as they head deeper into Big 12 conference play.
Yeah, I'm certainly with you there. I mean, I think that this team has a lot that it can still prove, but this one was certainly one of those games that definitely, I think it gave you a little bit of idea of what the ceiling and expectation level of what this team should be moving forward is. Whereas I think that was a little bit more unclear after the first 3 games of like, whoa, what could this team be? And then now it's like, that's what that team is.
Yeah,
they're decent.
It's the same cycle that if you put yourself in the shoes of any fan base that's not like one of the elite teams in the country, right? Every fan base, when they're 0-0, is like, well, can't tell me it's not our year. And then you start out 3-0 and you're like, well, maybe I should keep taking some of this copium. And then you get whooped on by Iowa State and it's like, I'm sober again, man.
It's like my mom says, you have PTSD from last season. And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, I mean, we didn't do our Brennan temperature check after post-game show.
We didn't. That would have been a good time.
We could do it right now.
Yeah, let's do it right now to end the show. Brennan temperature check. What was the scale? 1 to 5? Like the little happy faces, mid faces, average face, whatever. I might have dropped back down to the mid.
I just here's where this discussion goes for me, Kevin. Immediately, what's the goal of the football program? Is it to be a decent team? Is it to be respectable? Is it to have a good culture? A team that is has a bunch of really good individuals on it. A team that represents the university from at least like an off the field standpoint really well. Like all that stuff, right? I know it's important, but number one importance is winning. And what's the ceiling on a Brent Brennan football program? Is it truly contending for championships in your conference, or is the ceiling having average teams to slightly above average teams? And that's, I think, where the discussion needs to come in of like, I don't think Brent Brannan's going to do anything in year 2 that's going to warrant like a termination. You know what I mean? But I think that after year 3, probably, we're going to be sitting here being like, so is that it? Is that what we got? Like, is that what we can expect in the future? Because I think there's something to be said about like, should we be chasing a little bit of a higher ceiling? And is Brent Brennan that ceiling?
Honestly, well said. That was incredibly well said. Snaps for the poetry, whatever you want to call it. I agree with what you had to say.
Because I'm speaking from like the truest of my heart of hearts.
And it's resonating because
I agree everything to me.
I agree with you. And I think like in terms of where, like, what is Brent Brennan's ceiling, right? As a head coach, it does feel like it is like 8 wins in a bowl game W, right? Maybe if he's at a program for given a number of years, like 8 years, maybe once or twice you get like a 9 or 10. You know what I mean? With a special quarterback or something.
And that's pretty reflective of Arizona football in general.
We talked about it when he was hired. Like, he's an Arizona guy. Like, this is an Arizona hire in a lot of ways, right? So, I don't know.
I think I'm at a 2, Kevin.
Out of 5? Are there decimals in this system?
Sure.
No. Okay. Then I'm at a 2.5. I'm at 2.5. I'm like mid, but I'm negative mid.
Yeah, I think I was like 3 teetering 4 potentially based off of, and I think the coordinator moves have been great, and he did his job there, but clearly made a mistake on the special teams side of things, at least through 4 games, right? And so that's, I think you deserve a lot of flack for that. I think that there's just an element of like, how truly excited can you be about a team that's mid? And it definitely feels like that this is the like Brent Brennan mid show coming to town from San Jose and making its way to Tucson after a year last year where it's like almost inexplicable. It's like, dude, you're Mr. 6 wins. How the hell with that roster and NFL players did you manage 4? And then a year later, you're going to manage 6 again. Like that's always going to feel like the lost disaster broken year. And outside of that, I have a feeling that this is kind of going to be like the Rich Rod tenure where it's like a lot of average football teams. It can be fun at times, and you have years where you have like a Khalil Tate, and even though you win 7 games, you're still like, man, what a fun season that was. Like we had a breakout quarterback. It was truly special. But yeah, man, I'd be lying if I said that I had a ton of confidence in this football program moving forward, just in terms of like where I want to be as a fan. And that's not, I think it's all about people's expectations, right? And I don't necessarily expect Arizona football to reach heights of consistent double-digit win seasons. Like that's not something I think is at all realistic, but I do want like a coach that's like Jed Fish who comes in and has a clear plan of attack, and you see the progress week in and week out, and then eventually it culminates in like a dream season, right? And I just is that dream season in the cards with Brent Brennan? I don't know. I don't know
either, to be honest with you. Only time will tell. But yeah, like you said, as of right now, it does kind of feel like, in many ways, like 2 steps backwards, 1.5 step forwards, another half step backwards, maybe a step backwards, maybe 2 steps. Like you're just not even doing the 2 steps forward to begin with to have the 1 step back. And so yeah, it does kind of right now feel like Brent Brennan's going to give you a bunch of average results, and that's kind of what we're getting right now for Arizona football. Could that change?
It's better than being a complete disaster, I guess. The worst is having monumental expectations and that blowing up in front of your face, which we do have as Arizona football fans consistently. Last year being probably the number 1 version of that. The second worst is being mid, forever. Yeah, but it's not as bad as thinking you're good and being horrific. That's by far as bad as it gets. Yeah, which hopefully we don't have to experience that anymore.
Hopefully not. Hopefully that they can actually hopefully Iowa State is just good, and that this is not a good enough performance against a very good team, and that they can learn from this, whoop Oklahoma State, have some good games in conference with a favorable schedule, go bowling, maybe win a bowl game. And Damon and I are sitting here like, well, is he perfect? No. But could he maybe build on this? Like, hopefully there's some optimism that can be built throughout the season going forward. Because I think at your core of your point, you're 1,000% correct. I think there is an inherent ceiling with Brent Brennan as your head coach, right? What that is exactly, you and I don't really know, but it does feel like there is some sort of glass ceiling there. But if he's able, and if this team and program is able to build some momentum with a favorable Big 12 schedule this year, I think maybe the ceiling could change, right? Like, who knows? Like, because we've already seen the power of the people around him in terms of what this team can look like with more competent coordinators than less competent coordinators. So maybe it's not even about Brent Brennan at the end of the day in many ways, right?
And to an extent, that's fair because Brent Brennan is a CEO coach. He's not a offensive-minded coach like, say, like a Kenny Dillingham or something where he's going to be heavily involved in that side of the football. Like, he's walking around at practice kind of monitoring everything. And for a guy like that, your coaching assistants are everything.
Gotta monitor the special teams, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, please maybe focus on that a little bit more. But yeah, man, I don't want to. I'm not trying to be like a downer. It's just hard for me to be super excited about like an era where I'm like, is the best we're gonna do like 7 wins? Probably. But as I said, it's much better than being a complete and utter joke and everybody laughing at you and having NFL players all up and down your roster and 4 wins to show for it. So things could be worse. And you know, Arizona does have an opportunity to turn these things around. Like, I could be singing a different tune in 2 weeks. I probably won't be doing it after an Oklahoma State win, but I could be singing a different tune in 2 weeks, and maybe you know, hopefully I got some egg in my face. We pull up this clip and everybody points at me and laughs and says what a loser that guy is. But it is disheartening after a performance like that, where it's just like, man, we're just levels off of what it takes to be like a truly good team. But appreciate everybody for being here today. It was an absolute banner Monday episode, Kevin. We got our power rankings in. We, of course, talked all throughout the Big 12 and all those scores over the course of the weekend. And Arizona football, what went wrong on Saturday, how they can fix it moving forward, and where our confidence level is in Brent, Brennan, and staff in the future. And we'll be talking about that and more, including our Oklahoma State preview all throughout the rest of the week. Kevin and I are going to be live tomorrow on a Tuesday at 2 p.m., our regularly scheduled show time, where we'll be live Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday throughout the week, Wednesday being our off day, Saturdays, pregame shows and postgame shows for Arizona football games. Kevin, anything else before we get out of here?
Nah, thank you everyone for supporting this pod today. Got the pod going up on a Tuesday tomorrow. Very excited for that. And yeah, it was a melancholy Monday, but the show was fun with all you people. So please leave a like, show some love on the Twitter. I am at Kevo Post. He is at Damon Dog, DAWG on the end of that thing. And we are the AZ Wildcats podcast. You can find us on Twitter at PHNX_Wildcats, on TikTok at AZ Wildcats Pod, and on this wonderful YouTube channel that if you're not subscribed to, you made it an hour, 10 minutes into the show. You had better subscribe to catch one tomorrow, and we will see you on the other half of our pod tomorrow. We're going up on a Tuesday, like I said, Damon. Let's get out of here.
Let's do it. Appreciate everybody for being here today. We'll be back on a Tuesday at 2 p.m. We'll see you then. Peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Craig Nivart, please save us.
We all silly like the mayor.